Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I have my alternative paper pumpkin projects for you. This month's paper pumpkin is called Heartfelt Love Notes, January 2018. And it is Valentine's themed, and it has the cutest little cards in it. And this is one that would be fun to make up an awful lot of the cards just the way they come. There are 16 of these little cards, and they are in two different schemes. The first of which is this copper and black heart pattern, and it opens up to reveal a little heart here, and there's a pocket here, and there are two little holes that could be punched out here. Now, what comes with that, and to make up the cards, are these little white card fronts here, and these card fronts slide inside here so that you can stamp some messages here, you can stamp some messages on here, you can write a sentiment down here, and they're meant to close, and then there's ribbon. Now the ribbon in this kit is this beautiful white satin ribbon with a copper edging. I think the whole kit is worth getting this ribbon. It's so beautiful. And these little ribbon fits through these two things and then can tie in a bow off to the side. So this would make a great Valentine's card. It would make a great gift card holder. And it comes with craft envelopes that fit that card. And so it's really a very, very cute project kit this time. And so let me show you a little bit more about what's in the kit. So you get 16 of these white scallop top cards that would fit inside one of these little cards. And if it were me and I were a paper pumpkin subscriber, I'd probably make up half of them just the way they've got them. But I know my customers and I know how I feel. I like full-size cards. So I've created some alternative projects for you. The difference is this one is a white stripe, and this one, people were calling this rose gold, and it looks a little bit like it might be rose gold, but it's actually copper. And they're just really very, very cute, and there's 8 of each one of these designs in here, so you can make quite a few cards. Now, of course, I can't leave anything alone, so I've messed around and done something different with mine. The ink spot that you get this time is a rich razzleberry ink spot, and I just went ahead and used my regular ink pad because I like saving these to give away and do other kinds of things with. So this is the way it comes. Let's see, what else is in this kit? There's more things in this kit. So in this kit are also these pretty, there's a couple sheets of these vellum heart shapes, die cuts, and these banners. And there's 2 sheets of these, and then there's 2 sheets of these labels that have been die cut, and they're also rimmed in copper, and it really does look like rose gold. It's really very pretty. And then there's a couple sheets of these stickers, and these are sticky backed stickers in a Flirty Flamingo. So the color combination is Flirty Flamingo, black, white, copper, and let's see, I think that's it. And so there are also and I've already used an awful lot of mine, but there's these enamel dots in both Flirty Flamingo and in the rich raspberry color. Now, the stamp set. Let me see if I can find my stamp set so I can tell you what is in this stamp set. There it is. All right, so this stamp set, you can see mine's already well used, has this cute little envelope with hearts and X's and O's kind of coming out of the top of it. It's just darling. Then there's this plainer envelope, and it's got a little heart here in the corner. Then, let's see, the stamps say, "Sending hugs and kisses to you. You make my heart happy." I love that one. This little hearts here, there's one that says to, and there's one that says from. There's one that says love. Then this is a dark stamp where the negative space says Happy Valentine's Day. Then there's this one that has XOXO on it. This one, which is in a beautiful font that says Be Mine. And those are the stamps in this set. Really very cute. Very nice set of stamps, and a nice little stamp set to have on hand. And the font on these are really, really pretty. So let's see. I think, and of course you get your dimensionals and your glue dots that come in your kit, so that putting this together, you can do everything right with what comes to you. And then this is the instructions that come with the kit that allow you to understand here. And I think here it says, oops, I got it upside down again, contains supplies for 16 projects. So you can make 16, and there you can see how they've put some of the banners and some of these labels here and tied them off and used the vellum. And it really is a cute little project. And then, of course, there's the instructions on the inside that show you everything about putting this together and stamping and using the ribbons and doing all of that stuff. And so, and there's a supply list back here. And so it's a very nice little set. So, as is my practice, and the ribbon. This ribbon, I think there is, yes, there is 6 yards of this ribbon included in this kit. Like I said, the whole kit is worth getting the yards, the 6 yards of metallic edged ribbon in copper. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. And so I finally had to wind mine around a card just because there was so much of it. I kept losing and kept falling off my table. So, and even after making all of my alternatives, this is how much I have left. And so I want to show you what it was I did to make these cards. So I'm going to go through them and show them to you one by one, and then I'll show you some of the techniques that I used to make this card. Most of them I just used the kit supplies, and then a few I added from my own stash. So I used, in all cases, I think here I used white card bases. So these are all 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Now, what did I do to get the hearts punched out and get these little square pieces here? Well, I cut down a couple of these pieces of the card, the little scallop cards. So in some cases, I cut them in half, and that's what I did here. And then I cut off the scallops because after I worked with it a while, I decided it looked better without the scallops since I didn't have scallops on the top of the other one. And what I did to get my pieces here is I deconstructed these little cards. So I just literally tore them apart, coming down this end here and opening this up, which gives you this surface. Now, in order to get my little hearts punched out, what I did was I used heart framelits from our Sweet and Sassy Heart Framelit die set. So these are the ones I used. I used the two smallest in the plain heart and then the heart with the little fancier tail. Then I also used the largest of the hearts with the fancier tail. And I cut out, particularly on this piece here, which unless you needed a piece that's square, and I did use some there, this is a good place to cut out the hearts. And you can see I cut out the hearts, and this paper is on the back, so I just cut out a bunch of them. And some of them I left right side up so you could see the pattern. And others of them, here's another one where you can see the pattern, I cut out and used this side of the card. Now, on almost all of these except this one, now for this one, what I did was I took two of these apart, and I wanted mostly this back part, but then I was left with this sort of diagonal piece. And what I did was I took two of them apart and I put them together like this. So cut these off on the sides and then put these together like this so that I got a complete square here. And with this over the top of it, you don't even see the fact that they're connected on the back side. So that is one of the things that I did to, let me just close this up so you can see what it looks like. And that way I also got the rounded edge all the way around it. I just trimmed on the other side if it went over. But that was how I got a full piece there. Then these are the framelits I used, and like I said, I used both sides of the card in order to be able to get the pieces that I needed. So here's a perfect example. Let's see. This is where I cut out a few hearts. Here's another piece. Here's that angle I was telling you about, this pocket that's left over, where I cut out some hearts, and I used again both sides of that piece. Also, if you just cut this piece off and cut straight down here, you end up with actually some pretty good pieces that are long. And what I did was I cut off the rounded corner on some and used the inside, and I'll show you on the inside of one of them what I did to use that rounded corner. So let me just go through and show you what I did with each of them now that you understand a little bit about how I deconstructed the card bases here, again, to make the various alternatives. All right, so this one I used a white card base, and for my stash, a black 5 1/4 by 4 inch layering piece. Then I used the largest of the hearts, and then I did back and forth on the heart fronts here, and put two pieces together here to make that little representation. And on the inside, what I found was, you know, none of the hearts in this stamp set are completely, let me see if I can grab the stamp set again so I can show you. They either have the from or the to in them, and I didn't always want that in there. So for instance, on this one, when I did it in Rich Razzleberry, I just used my marker to color over the from and the to on that one. And it worked pretty well. But when I did the same thing on the Flirty Flamingo, what happened was that this happened. The Flirty Flamingo, when you use the stamp, is actually quite a bit lighter. So when I went to scribble in, I found that I had to go over the whole heart in order to get it to come out. But you can do that, and then you get the solid hearts, which is kind of nice, I think. So there's that one that uses the die cuts and some central pieces from a card base. And on this one, I just stamped up and I just used the top half so I could have the X's and O's at the bottom. On this one, I took one of these white bases and I used the little stamp that's the XOXO, and I did it in the Flirty Flamingo and the Rich Razzleberry all over to create a background. And then I put the You Make My Heart Happy, used one of the sticky banners and a piece of vellum and some of the beautiful ribbon here, and then a few of those enamel dots around. Then I had this nice piece of black, so I put some ribbon across it and I just stamped the hearts coming out of the envelope down here. So that is card number 2. On this one, I used my white card base and I just ran this through that Falling Petals embossing folder by putting this piece inside the folder and wrapping the back around the back and running it through, so I had these pretty little hearts on the paper. And I think this is still available on the clearance rack. And then I did the solid Happy Valentine's Day, and then I just did the hearts in reverse and some of them in the pink, and I raised some and I left some flat, and I put a piece of ribbon across here, added a bow, and then I had an extra heart, and then I stamped this one again on the inside. So that's card number 3. On this one, I wanted to take advantage of this pretty copper. So I cut this piece, and let's see what this ends up being. Out of the center of one of the fronts, it looks like it's about 2 1/4 by 3 1/4 for this piece. So then I made this piece 3 inches by 4 inches, so I could really pick up the copper in the hearts. And with this one, it wasn't ideal because the hearts end up running across this way instead of up and down, but it just kind of depends on how you cut your paper. And then use the ribbon, and this one is very simple, but I put the vellum heart behind it, and I really think it came out pretty. I like this card a lot. This one I made top folding, and this is one of those places where I cut the center out of the card so that I could get this piece, and so I just trimmed off the edges and used this on the inside of the card to get some matching decoration. Then I stamped a stamp down here and put one of the enamel dots in. So that is card number 4. This one I went a little bit completely off the reservation here in that I used a piece of rich raspberry as my 4 by 5 1/4 piece, and then 3 3/4 by 5, and I used the Flirty Flamingo paper. And then I found that this paper from the Designer Series paper and I can't remember I'll have the name up on the screen for you, but it has the Flirty Flamingo, it has the rich raspberry, and it has a metal. Now the metal isn't exactly the same, but I don't think it matters a lot. I just put this piece, I think it's a couple inches by 3 3/4 to match the bottom of this Flirty Flamingo card. And then what I did here was almost like an eclipse card. What I did was I took one of these and I used the piece that holds the die cuts. And what I did was I put this on my trimmer and I just trimmed out this square here so that it had an even border behind it. Then I stamped on the label itself and I put it up on dimensionals, and you can see the rich raspberry underneath, so it almost looks a little bit like an eclipse card. And I used the outside of this frame to frame the sentiment, and then put another piece of rich raspberry underneath there, and again increase the size by, you know, 1/2 inch on either side for the rich raspberry over this piece that I cut. And then I used some of the enamel dots. I put some of these enamel dots here on the ribbon. Thought that was kind of fun since it kind of mimicked the multiple images down below. And then on the inside of this one, I put a piece of rich raspberry and then another little piece of this designer series paper on this just to pick up the raspberry. So that one is card number 5. Then this one, I had cut some of the square pieces off of here. So this is right onto my card base. And I just put some pieces on here that are 4 inches. I did this one, let's see, that one is about 3/4 of an inch, and this one is about 1 3/4 of an inch. And then put the little piece of copper behind it. I used 2 of the vellum stickers behind this. I had a little piece of this paper left, so I put ribbon around it and then put my tag on there. And then I stamped on the vellum heart, the little hearts, and then colored in with my marker over the top. Now, the only thing I'll tell you about that is that when you color in these hearts and stamp them on the vellum, it takes quite a bit of time for that to dry. And so what I did was I stuck some glue dots behind the hearts in a couple places because they wouldn't be seen, and glued that down here. And so be very careful if you stamp on the front of the vellum. It's much brighter when you stamp on the front of the vellum than it is if you stamp on the back side. The back side is very, well, I'll just do one and you can see. It is much more muted. So let's say we took this vellum heart here, and we were going to use our heart here, and let me grab some paper and my mat, and let's see, my rich raspberry ink, and let's look at the difference here. So on this, what I did was I stamped my hearts on my larger heart here. Okay, and then I used my marker to go in and color in the fronds so that it's more of a solid heart, because we didn't get a solid one in this kit, but we'll just make it solid. And so after coloring those in, I don't know if you can see, I'll bring it up close to the camera so you can get an idea and see if I can move it in the light so you can see. You see how shiny that is? That's because it's wet, and it takes a really long time. I even used my heat tool on mine, and still I had to wait quite a while before it was completely dry. And this is what it looks like when you stamp on the front of the vellum, and this is what it looks like if you stamp on the underside. If you stamp on the underside of the vellum, you still get the images on the top, but they're quite a bit fainter. This other side is quite a bit brighter. So you see there the difference. And you don't have to wait as long for something to dry, I don't suppose, or it's less likely to smudge if you do it on the underside. But I liked how bright it was doing it the other way, so that's how I did mine. And so on the inside of this one, what I did was I used the little envelope with the heart and just stamped up the inside of the side of the card. And so there is card number 6. Now, like I said, I tried to use mostly, this one is most out of the kit because I didn't use any of the card fronts on it. But I wanted to show that you can do a lot of things by just using the idea of it and a little bit of what comes in the kit. Now, if I did this, I could make a ton of different cards. This one, you'd be a little bit more confined because you're using the card fronts, but remember, you have 16 card fronts with this kit. So you can make an awful lot of cards by just doing these alternative things. I don't know. I didn't count how many I used and how many I have left. But I'm probably going to make up a handful of these just the way they are in the kit and keep them on hand because, you know, they don't have to be Valentine's Day. I mean, this little card makes a darling gift card holder, and that is pretty neutral. And you put a little bit of bright ribbon on that, and you can mix just about any color with that and have it come out and be something kind of special. And this one, while it has little hearts on it, isn't necessarily Valentine's Day. And so I think that they're wonderful to keep on hand for gift card holders, and a few of them for Valentine's cards. I think they're just as cute as anything. And I love the copper and black. I think it's very, very pretty. And so I used a little bit of white cardstock, a little bit of black cardstock, a little bit of the Flirty Flamingo and the rich razzleberry. But there's a lot of these that you can put together and do even if you don't have anything else in your stash. This card, other than the embossing folder, and most of us have an embossing folder or two, is using nothing but the kit insides. And so is this one. That's nothing but the kit insides. This one's only got the copper. This one only, well, this one is using all of the kit insides. So there's really only a couple that I went off. So those are my paper pumpkin alternatives for January 2018. And I hope this gives you some ideas about how to make some alternative projects if you want some full-size cards out of this kit. And you can order Paper Pumpkin on my website, www.lbedinger.stampingup.net. And if you don't already have a demonstrator, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator, and or you could join my team. There's two things I would tell you. This is a particularly good time of the year to join Stampin' Up! Because there's all kinds of additional incentives, and you can get almost $200 worth of material for your $99. I want to talk also a little bit about Paper Pumpkin. There was a woman who I was watching on YouTube, and she was talking about what she did and how she did her Paper Pumpkin annual subscription. Now, Paper Pumpkin can be purchased on a monthly, it's $19.95 per month, and they'll debit your account and you get your kit, and you can just be on a once a month $19.95 debit, and then you get your kit. But she had a very interesting alternative. She did her kit, and she did it signed up for the whole year at once, which is 200, and I'm going to make this up because I don't remember right off the top of my head. I want to say it's $220 something for the year. Now that's a chunk of change, but if you put $30 with it, your order gets to $250. Now, why did she do this in January, February, and March? Because during Sale-A-Bration, when you have an order that totals $250, now if you did this, your kit would be taken care of for a whole year. It just comes and you get these fun things to put together, and there's all kinds of people that do alternative projects online. And you get Stampin' Rewards. For an order this size, you would get at least $25 in Stampin' Rewards. And then during Celebration, when your order reaches the $250 level, you get another $25 in Stampin' Rewards. So that's $50 in free products from any of the live catalogs that you can get during the first quarter. And so it's a pretty good deal, because if you think about it, you're getting $300 worth of stuff for $250, so you get a $50 off or a 20% off on everything, plus you save ordering for the year at one time. Anyway, there's lots of ways you can do it for a 3-month subscription or a 6-month subscription. You can do it monthly, or you can do it annually like this. I thought this was interesting because she found a way to leverage this time of year and make a little bit more in the way of Stampin' Rewards. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks so much for coming by my YouTube channel. I do appreciate it. And I'll be back soon with more projects and more cards. Bye.